to be vaccinated or not. And
Be or not to be.
And if you guys know, the Social Dilemma is a 1-hour live discussion event where we ask social dilemmas. We then go around the virtual table and each person has an opportunity to speak or pass and share their thoughts, answers, and ideas. So the social dilemma for the night is, and it's topical, COVID-19 vaccines are shipped across the world. Your employer sends you a mandatory policy stating you can keep your job and return to work only if you have the vaccine. Do you get the jab or not? And we'll start off with Burnt Pixels.
Burnt Pixels.
Well,
Hi, welcome. Hi.
hey there. Hey. Yeah, I personally would get the jab. I think it's, as a human being and among many other human beings here, that it is the responsibility of mankind to, seek out the advance movie. Sorry, you put me on the spot by picking me first out of everybody else. I'd say yes. I would get the jab. A lot of people in the world have obviously died due to the inability to getting vaccinations, and since COVID-19 has occurred, a lot of people have sadly passed away, loved ones, people that we admire in life and whatnot. And I feel like it's only fair that now that we're given the opportunity to, vaccine ourselves from such a deadly disease, we should, and as like I said, a human being, we should be responsible for, to do that, because over generations and thousands of years, humanity has worked the field of science, and to not actually go out and, take the opportunity to secure your future and many of your generations' futures, then you are, in a way, being a bit insulting to the thousands of years of science and development and betterment of humanity, because, well, if that's going to keep people safe and people going along for many generations to come, then I feel like you should. And I would get the jab.
Awesome. You get to keep your job. Minty Mints.
Question. Minty Mints. Yes.
Oh, Minty Mint doesn't want to talk. It's all good. It's all good. We'll move on to Mike Hollis Jr.
She's in mute. Sorry. She can't speak.
Okay, all right.
Can she?
Because I saw you waving your hands.
Does she hear what we say?
She can hear what you say, but actually, IRL, she has the inability to speak, so
okay.
I'm here for her.
All right. Thank you. Well, Minty Mint,
No
very welcome
No
to you. Hope you enjoy the event. Let's head over to Mike Hollis Jr.
Just going through the list. Mike Hollis, megaphone is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. I sort of have a little bit of a balanced thought on this. It's not really something. For me, the answer to the question, would you get it if your employer required it, really comes down to me to, is it something that it doesn't have anything to do with the vaccine? Do I love the job? Do I love the position, the work that I'm doing for the company? And the reason I say that is because really we don't know the short or the long-term effects of any of the various scenes out there. And in my eyes, there's not really enough for me to say that I prefer the vaccine or that I don't prefer, or I prefer not to have the vaccine. There's just simply not enough information out there for to have an opinion. So as far as one way or the other, so as far as if the policy was mandatory, stating that in order to keep my job, I needed to go ahead and get the shot, I would say that it really comes down to whether or not I really love the job.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, let the guinea pigs try it out first. Jordan is next. Feel free to speak or pass if you're there. You look super still, but anyway, we give the benefit of the doubt.
Jordan, can I just ask GGG just to relax somewhere, sit down, please? Sorry.
Yeah,
Have a seat
so
on the couch.
Actually,
Thank you.
it is the first day of mine, so I'm little confused.
Pop onto the couch and basically we'll go around asking a question. The question is here right behind me. You can have a read, and then each person's going to get the opportunity to speak or pass around, starting... well, we started with burn pixels, and now we're going clockwise. And now we're heading over to D. Hi, D.
Okay, so what was the question today?
Oh, there's Jordan. No, Jordan, we'll get to you when we go around. Stick around. Let's head over to D.
I think that the question is a little bit of a masked question, because it's saying that would you do it for a mandatory job to keep your job, when it's more of a question of beforehand, do you believe in the overall benefit of vaccines or not, before you would even assess whether it would affect your choices on your job. I personally can't wait to take it. I've helped a couple of my elderly friends and stuff get it done. I think that employers doing mandatory statements saying to get vaccines is kind of the same thing as like kids in schools. This is a worldwide, once in a lifetime, if that, plague that it's not a norm that we deal with. So it's not a norm for a job to even really ask for that in many situations. And we've gotten rid of a lot of issues through vaccines that are, really, really could have crippled us as a species time and time again. So yeah, I definitely take it, but I think the question is kind of hidden and is more of a two-parter of, do you believe that the benefits outweigh the risks, and if your job relied on it, would you still feel that you would take the job regardless of how you feel about said benefits and said risks? Does that make sense?
Yeah, we had an event actually with regards to, do you believe in the vaccine? We did it in the form of a social dilemma. So this time, I'm actually...
It's like a part 2 of that.
Yeah, it's like a part 2, but it's more about like the survival of you depends on it. If you need this job, for example, to the extent of, would you get the vaccine? No, I'll let others, but would you get the vaccine or you lose your job? It becomes more of like an urgent matter in some way. Cool. Next we have is Wala Wasabi.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll definitely get the jab. I'll definitely take the vaccine. I think my biggest concern of it all, that'll make me think otherwise, is how accessible it is. Like, what are the methods in order to take it? Like, if it was mandatory now, would there be like, oh, you have to pay a certain amount of copay, or how far I have to travel for the job? So depending on the accessibility of it would be the reason why I get it or don't take it.
Accessibility. I mean, some countries are doing amazing. I think the UK is already at 50% of the population, which is incredible. Calvin.
So, well, I would definitely get the jab, because at least as far as my understanding goes, it's my responsibility for the community to get vaccinated. I actually lost someone due to COVID, so I know that this is real, and there are so many people that I'm really angry at that don't take this whole thing seriously, and it's just making me angry. So yes, I would definitely get jab, but not just for the job.
Thanks.
Protect others.
Thanks, Calvin. Let's head over to Nelson. Nelson. Just waiting for you.
Just waiting for you. Yes, to accept.
Okay, let's move on to Raulitos. Raulitos, megaphone is yours.
Nope. Let's try one more time. Nope.
All right, let's head over
Okay.
to Have a Cigar. Always willing to share his thoughts.
Sorry, just going through the list. 1 second. There we go. Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I'll quit the job. I'll see that as a rape. As somebody say, you're going to take some chemicals or some fluid into the body that you don't want. If you don't do it, you have to quit. I'll quit. Doesn't matter if I want the vaccine or not. A company do not control what I'm going to put into my body. I
Okay.
will not accept that.
All right, thank you. Have a cigar. Kaylin, I wish we had a poll option. Alt space, can you please give us a poll option so we can put it up on the board so everyone can say yes or no? That would be awesome for these type of debates. Kaylin.
Yes, sir. I don't know. I think it's wrong for a company to try and force that on you. I've never heard of that. I don't think they would. But if it was required, I guess I would have to. You know, I have to work for a living, so I'm kind of scared about what the potential consequences down the road could be. You know, what if it makes you more susceptible to some other type of disease? So it's kind of scary, but if my job was on the line, I guess I would just have to suck it up. And not only that, but I've been watching the news lately, and there are all these questions of what could it cause, but I haven't specifically seen anything bad yet. So I guess I would just suck it up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that that news event where they said that the Pfizer vaccine causes blood clots within a certain population, but the honest truth is that whether people were going to take the vaccine or not, blood clots were going to form because 30 to 40% of Americans are overweight, and they have cardiac issues. So it's funny because all of a sudden when there's bad things happening when people take the vaccine, they blame the vaccine rather than all the bad things that happened before COVID. But anyway, let's head over to Adam. Hello, you have the opportunity to speak or pass.
Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We can. Loud and clear.
AstraZeneca, not Pfizer. Sorry, AstraZeneca. Getting confused here.
So, I think this question's actually really difficult to answer because it depends on a lot of things. It depends, you know, how much do you love your job and how do you feel about the vaccine as a whole? Because there's a lot of people out there who do want to take it and people who don't want to take it. And I think for me, if I was in that position, I think I would take it just because it gives me like a peace of mind. I don't have to worry about, I don't have to worry about, could I get COVID? You know, could I potentially give it to someone who could die from it? Kind of just puts myself at a like peace of mind, reassurance.
Yeah, altruistic of you. Thank you, Adam. Yabohim.
Yabohim. Yeah. Let's try one more time.
Yeah, we got a long list to get through.
Just waiting for you to accept. No? Skip? Okay.
All right.
All right. Fair enough.
Maximus Comfortus.
Maximus. I like your name. Maximum Comfort. Let's... and the microphone's yours. Megaphone's yours.
If you want it.
Just waiting for you to accept. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, I got the Pfizer one. I got the Pfizer injection. No big deal, but you will. They got the injections at two different places, and one place you're going to be not allowed on to fly out of Great Britain if you don't have the shot. And that's what they were talking about. But this other place, that's where I got my shot. And you get a little certificate, and you have to keep that. So if you go anywhere, we're on lockdown right now, so you can't go anywhere anyway unless you get takeout foods and stuff, or marketplaces. I mean, supermarkets. But I can't see no problem with it. You know, people that get arterial problems, you know, with the blood clots and stuff, it happens to everybody more or less as they get older. You know, so
Yeah.
I don't know. They ain't not gonna get away with that.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I gotta say.
Thanks, Maximus. Maximum. Yellow Majesty.
Yes.
Hi.
So, hi. This is a good question. I guess you can address this from many perspectives. You can take altruistic perspective and think about the community for the better sake. Whether there is a truth to that or not, that's a different question. Or you can consider this from a principle perspective, whether or not you want to, as have a cigar put it so well, inject chemicals into your body on demand of someone else's wish. Or also it depends on the nature of the job. I guess we all work with different things here. For me, I work in academia, so I have the possibility, quite good possibility to work from home. I always work from home, and I'm always doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm actually more productive when I work from home. And because I live in Sweden, we've seen some of these, as you told before, the AstraZeneca cases. Of course, media has its take on that. They want to extrapolate everything and just, you know, create a certain polemic atmosphere among people in society. So they become worried about whether or not they should take the vaccine or not. From my perspective, I think I love my job, actually. So I'm really into my job. And of course, I could change workplace, because in academia you have that privilege. You can, as long as you have your PhD and you're on your way to become a professor, you have a good chance of shifting gears and going to a different university. So principally, from a principal perspective, I'm on have a cigars side here. I don't think it's fair to force people to inject, whether it is this vaccine or other things, to your body. That would be anything else than a part of democracy. So I hear people here talking about the better will for the community and this and that, but this is a direct strike against democracy, some certain degree. So from that perspective, I would say no. But because I love my job, as this guy over here, Maximus, said, the implications of taking a vaccine is in Mississippi, especially for people that are under 40 years of age. I guess I would take the vaccine just to be pragmatic about it, but not because it's for the better good or anything preachable like that. I don't believe in that case. You need to take it from case to case basis. I don't think you can universalize or generalize any principle based on what is good or not for the entire universe, whether or not they should take the vaccine. So I think that's my take. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Dylan.
Dylan.
Well, I think this is interesting because when it comes to terrorism and pandemics, you know, once there's a mass threat, you know, all your civil liberties and personal freedoms are gone. That just doesn't exist when it's a mass threat. But this is interesting because it's actually in the European Parliament for debate, because, you know, every country now is creating a vaccine passport. And the European Parliament says, oh, we understand this is for national borders, but there's also this debate about whether people will need a vaccine passport to get into movie theaters, to go to concerts, to go to soccer games. And there's this debate where they're saying, well, it goes against our civil liberties, but at the same time, they see that Europe and the United States are starting to lose out to China and Australia, because China is open for business and we don't like it, but their totalitarian model of dealing with this seems to be working. And if we don't figure out something here in the West, we're all going to be slaves to China pretty soon.
Thanks, Dylan.
That's my thought.
Excellent, thank you. All right, Mr. Kitch.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I might be a bit nervous here. It's my first time on VR, but this is a good thing you've got going. But I totally wouldn't get the vaccine. The reason for this, I believe it's all a hoax. There's a lot of reasons why. I mean, the leader of the world, Bill Gates, you know, he's probably got shares in this. And if you think about it, there's starving countries out there and things like that where they can't give them food, but he's willing to give them a vaccine that has cost a lot of money, which is a bit crazy. There is also things that I've seen online and documentaries being deleted, where the vaccine's got stuff that alters with your DNA. It's got nanobots, if you want to look into that. And I've actually seen a video, and I've got a screen recording on my phone of do you know the World Economic Forum? He actually says the world will not go back to how it used to be, which, you know, it's a bit dodgy. I mean, and if it was real, I mean, why would there be pizza shops open? Why would the supermarkets be crowded and things like that? If it was a real pandemic, then why, you know, how are them facilities open? But yeah, that's all I've got to say.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kitch. Next we have is Sasha.
Sasha, hi.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah. So my mindset's a little bit different because I'm still on being in the military for 20 years. So as you guys know, we're the ones that are the guinea pigs for you all. Like, we don't get a decision in getting vaccinated. And if I didn't get the vaccine, being active duty military, I would lose my military career. The only time you're not vaccinated if it's for allergies and things like that. So I guess my mindset is I would get the jab because that's all I know. And just basically because I wanted to keep my career, you know, not necessarily, you know, I guess it kind of goes along the same lines that he was saying about if I love my job or not. And I did love my job in the military. That was my life. So I would definitely get it.
Thanks, Sasha.
Thank you.
Ultra Funky Claves.
Ultra Funky.
Yes. Okay, you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. You know, when I was listening, and I'm gonna put it really bad or blunt or whatever you call it, I got a little bit angry because I was thinking like this more. Are you identifying yourself with your job? Or are you identifying yourself and say, this is the person I want to be? So I was thinking from the way of thinking like this.
Just hold on a second, Ultra Funky.
Just check your microphone a little bit. You sound a little bit far away. I don't know if it's a little bit far from your mouth.
No. Sorry, then I had some problem. Is it
Let's try again.
too bad?
Let me give you the megaphone again. 1 sec. Let's try that again.
Better?
Okay.
Wait, let me do that, Ali. Let me just look around. Let's try. Well, so just speak a little louder, Ultra Funky.
Yeah, okay. You hear me now?
A little bit better. Just,
is it
yeah,
better?
speak a bit louder.
Okay, I will raise my voice. Do you hear me better now if I talk a little louder?
We can hear what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Sorry, so I didn't know where you lost me, but I'm going to start over. It's like I got a little bit angry with this thing that, is this about your job and want to keep your job, or is it about who you want to be as a person, you know? And everybody is like, in this question, you identify yourself as at the job, that's important. I'm thinking like this, the choice is who I want to be more than keeping a job. So I was thinking about the 4 levels of maturity, and the 3rd level of maturity is like this. I'm not going to do things that hurts me, you know, that makes me, give me pain. And that is exactly the level this question is, you know. So should I take the jab, you know, to keep my job? I would say like this. No, I would not, because I don't want to be on the third level of my life, maturity. I want to be something better. And there is a next level, I'm going to move to that. So I would be truthful to myself and say, I'm not going to keep the job, and I'm going to be like more true to myself and continue and use the tools I have to go to the fourth level of maturity and don't and not care about this thing. So and the other thing I was thinking about is like we have different way of seeing this. Somebody says like, yeah, take the vaccine, but we have so many different vaccines that are differently good or bad, you know. So when you ask the question, it's not easy, because if you go to the United States where you have the vaccine that is the better ones, and we in Europe, at least the country I come from, we have the one that the worst that has been most talked about, the AstraZeneca. So I was thinking like, yeah, so what is the choice? You know, I have been dealt the worst card here among the people that said you should take it if I talk with people from the rest of the world. And in that case, no, I wouldn't take it, because I know there's a better thing out there, and I really think that everybody should have the same possibility. Or I at least I would wait until I get a better product, and then I would do it. You know, so that's my take on it.
I would ask you, Ultra Funky, before you mute yourself, and that is one thing that we haven't really considered is the level of the job that we're talking about. So everybody's probably thinking of their own job, but like if you were, for example, a healthcare worker or in the military, or if you owned a club, for example, and you deal with a lot of people, like, isn't that more understandable of why the vaccine is needed in order for the safety of others rather than for the job's purpose?
No, okay. I'm with you, and you're 100% correct in the question and the way you think about it. But I was going from the way that I was thinking, like, who do I want to be in this case? So if I don't want to take the vaccine, then I leave my job, my spot, to somebody else that maybe want to take it. You know, so I'm going to leave my job. So I'm not going to put anyone in the risk. So I make the choice that I want to be that person, I want to do like this, and then I leave the job. So I put my spot to somebody else. You with me how I'm thinking here?
And it's more based on and it's more based on the fact that you're not happy with the current vaccines at the moment.
One reason where I'm coming from, you know, in the situation I am in, yes. That's the reason for me, and I have doctors around me, and I hear stories, and those stories doesn't get out to the news, and I also saying like this, and I'm being bad here, but if they have problem with vaccines, they wouldn't tell us everything about it, because if everybody starts saying like, I don't want to take it because I'm afraid of it, then we would have a big problem in the world. So it's up to who you want to be. I'm saying it's I see it from a maturity level and who you want to be, more than what it is and the product.
Thanks.
So that's my.
Thanks, Ultra Funky. Let's head over to Sex and Honey.
Sex and Honey. Megaphone's yours.
Oh, Sex
Can you
and
hear
Honey.
me?
Jeez, I can't read. I can't read from here. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, careful how you say that. Never mind. So what is the question here? Are you asking individuals whether, you know, they would take the jab because they were told by their employer, or not? And the problem that you have with the way that you phrase this question, again, you know, if it's the military, or what about if it's people working in an old people's home? You know, if they don't have the vaccine, then you know, they're putting the people in their care at risk. So I mean, you know, should companies make it mandatory to
take vaccines or any other kind of drugs, I'd have to go with our friend, have a cigar and say, well, no, that doesn't seem right at all. But on the other hand, what about if, like the lady down here who's in the military? Well, that kind of job means that you don't really get to have so much of a choice as you would in civilian life. If they tell you you're going to take something, you take it. You don't have a choice, So for me personally, whether I would take the vaccine or not is not really what the question that you seem to be asking, right? Your question is along the lines of, if your employer it says that you have to take it, would you take it or not? That's a different question to would you take the vaccine or not? So I don't know. I'm self-employed. It's a difficult one for me. I don't have a problem. I have actually taken the vaccine, as our friend Ultra Funky said. I took the AstraZeneca one, and but that's an entirely different question to what you're asking here. Should employers make you take vaccines? If that's the question, I think it depends on the employer. It really does. I think it really depends on the employer, the nature of the job that you're doing. I think there's too many variables to be able to answer the question properly.
I also find that there's almost like an evolution with people's thinking as time goes on, because Sax and Honey, I would have remembered your name. You haven't been to the Social Dilemma before. And a couple of weeks ago, we started with the simple question would you take the vaccine? And now we're leveling up into urgency. And then maybe in the near future, we would be create even more urgency, but also health reality situations of reasons why you should. But today was basically just where you are right now with your job. It's completely up to your interpretation. If you're self-employed like myself, I'm also self-employed. I don't have an employer, but I put myself in someone else's shoes and say, if I did have, because we have had bosses before, we got to admit, would we have...
No, I don't think, if that's the question, I don't think civilian companies should be allowed to dictate whether you take a certain drug or not. That doesn't seem right to me at all. But given this global pandemic that we have, I think you'd be smart to take the vaccine.
Yeah, thank you.
Help the rest of the planet or not. You're welcome.
Perfect. Yeah, and it's like you can take the vaccine, and if you don't take the vaccine, you won't have a very nice time with your job. It'll be a lot of unfair dismissals. Let's go to Queen Mills. Hi, Queen Mills.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, me personally, I would not take it. And the reason being is because I think about it more like the flu shot. You take the vaccine, but doesn't mean that you won't get the virus. You understand?
Yeah.
So I would not take it. Just to keep it short. I know you gotta, well, I'm almost the last person, but just to keep it short, I would not take it.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Queen Mills.
Thank you.
Anastasia, hello.
Anastasia, hi. Let me give you the megaphone. Anastasia.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, well, I'm kind of biased because I'm already vaccinated. So I was looking forward to the vaccine. So this wouldn't be a problem for me if my job said it was mandatory. I'd probably be ahead of it. And I had the Moderna one, so, yeah, that's my answer.
Awesome, thank you. Ali.
What would Ellie do? Well, it is a question I have actually thought about. At some stage, I may decide to take the vaccine, but considering the fact that it was obligatory or mandatory by my job to take it, I'm all about human rights, and I don't think anybody should impose a law that what you put in your body. So the choice has to be yours, what you're going to do with yourself and what you're going to put in your body. But the fact that they're going to impose impose it on you, I disagree with that. So I would probably leave my job if I had to.
All right.
Yes.
Awesome.
Any job. Doesn't matter where I am. If I don't want to put people at risk, I would leave it and look for something else. I wouldn't. If I do decide to do it at a later stage, that will be my choice and my choice alone. But no one is under has no right to tell me what I'm going to do with my body and what I'm going to put inside my body. Short and sweet.
But and if you were a healthcare worker, Ali, you were in hospitals daily.
I would still leave. I know a lot of doctors, a lot of nurses that do not want to take the vaccination.
Okay.
They have studied. They do have information backing their statements up. So, yeah.
Okay. I would take the vaccine on my side because, first thing, I've been a patient. I've been a victim of COVID. It's actually been a year since I got it. And I still have symptoms today, chest pain, tiredness, fatigue. And it's crazy. And it's like, if you get it again, my level of my working ability will diminish. And also, obviously, the health diminishes, and that will cause problems with work. And at the end of the day, as much as we're human, we also are the ones that are making the businesses run and tick. And we're all, obviously, we're replaceable depending on the level of skills and that. But I would take it not just because it's a mandatory policy, but also because I would just have so much peace of mind knowing that I'm not the one that's going to kill anyone. I'm not the one that's going to be infected and spread it. And people are going to look at you with that stink eye, saying, oh, that's the guy that's against it all when everyone else did it. And peer pressure in this case is very understandable because it's a peer pressure that can cause an effect on somebody else. It's not trying to be the cool guy. It's trying to be the guy who saves people and considers others in all ways. So I wish I could take the vaccine now, but it's not as readily accessible here in South Africa like it is in Europe and the UK. So now we are here with Open Table, and I'd like to hear thoughts from you. And we'll start off with Helion Aeon. Helion Aeon.
You'll get it one day.
One day.
Can you hear me, first of all?
Yes, very well.
Yes, we can.
Yeah?
Hi, and welcome back.
Yeah, right. Yes, Helion Aeon. Right, yeah. Okay, first of all, on your question there, I'm actually, I operate as a freelance software engineer through my own personal services company that I own. So I'm actually my own employer. So obviously, that's a bit irrelevant for me. I have already had the jab, the first one of the AstraZeneca jab, and in the UK certainly you can't force anybody. There are no laws. You can't force anybody to take any medicine at all. It's just against the law to force somebody. Whether or not it should be required for certain jobs, there's no reason why a company couldn't require it's having been done, maybe a old people's home or something like that. There's certain conditions where you do need other medications and things to be had. I have to take issue with the gentleman who described the AstraZeneca jab as an inferior jab. Okay, it's been tested. The results came out today. The US, the trials there. It's completely safe. 17 odd million UK citizens have had it. And yesterday, most have had a jab, and in most 27 million altogether, and most of those were the AstraZeneca jab. And yesterday, of a 70 million population in the UK, 17 people died. Okay, and that was down from the many thousands that we were getting a few months ago. Okay, every day. It's completely safe. It's been proven by so many people now around the world, and nobody's had any problems with it. The Europeans have got themselves in a complete state over AstraZeneca, and because of that, a lot of their citizens have been put off it. The French started out by saying it doesn't work, then saying that they had to stop it for a while because of one thing. Then they started holding it up because the other lot did, because there might have been blood clots, which has been completely disproven. And now they're saying you can only have it if you're over 65. So they stopped giving it to the younger people, which is who they said originally they would give it to. They're just going round in circles. And because of that, only 10% of French, roughly, have had it. And now their cases are going through the roof and people are dying every day because of it. So it's completely wrong. So first of all, the AstraZeneca. The other thing about the global, we're talking about companies making money out of it. Yeah, I think the Pfizer jab goes for something like $15 roughly per shot, to use the American terms. I found out yesterday. The AstraZeneca is $3, €3, something like that per jab. It can be kept in a normal fridge, and it is going to be perhaps the most used, apart from the Sputniks and the Chinese ones, one of the most used vaccines around the world once we actually start to get releasing it. So anyway, that's my piece.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You know,
excellent wisdom. Thank you,
Thank you.
Helion. Okay, next we have is Ant034.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. So I can actually talk because I'm actually an employment law specialist. So I can actually give you, from the UK's perspective, the position on requesting employees have the vaccination. Now, we are in a position where we can ask new employees, so that's somebody that's joining the company, to be vaccinated, because it's, we have to think about the health and safety of the other people that work within that environment and who that particular person is going to deal with. With existing employees, it's a little bit difficult, because what you're actually saying is that by having a jab or a vaccination becomes part of the terms and conditions of your employment, and therefore you could not forcibly make somebody have the vaccination, because it would be a change to their terms and conditions, and in return, and therefore it would be a breach of the implied trust, etc. There are certain employers within the UK, particularly the NHS, the medical service, where you must have a vaccination against certain viruses, and that it does form part of the terms and conditions. Like, for example, in nursing, you have to have a hepatitis B vaccination, you have to go through occupational health. I think also what the situation is with here is, if somebody refuses to have a vaccination, then you'd have to have some form of dialogue with that particular employee to understand the reasons why. Now, if the reason for them having the vaccination is because of religious purposes, because of the fact that there is medical conditions, or there's some other sort of philosophical belief, etc., then again, it would be very, very difficult to force somebody to have that vaccination, because they would have what's known as a protected characteristic, and therefore they could be discriminated against. But if there's a particular person that says, I'm not having the vaccination because I think it's a conspiracy theory, then it's a little bit different, and then therefore we can actually start to look at what other measures we can actually introduce that employee. And we have what would actually end up being, if that person still refused to have vaccination and we've considered all the reasonable alternatives, then we could actually end up terminating that person's employment. And the reason being is that where a person's own beliefs contradict with the duties of which they carry out, an employer is not obliged to reorganize the way it operates. It's not obliged to reorganize its business activities or its staffing levels just to simply accommodate a person's beliefs. And also from an employment point of view as well, it's, again, because it's being rolled out, there's tiers, etc. There's the start. You start to have to think, well, okay, if this employee is not having the vaccination, what are we going to do with him, etc. I don't want this to turn into an employment law seminar. There are different measures they have to take, but it's understanding the reasons why a person would refuse to have the vaccination in the first place, and a reasonable employer would be expected to have some form of a conversation with that particular person to understand the reasons why. But if it's, as I say, if it's an existing employee, you are actually changing terms and conditions, so it lawfully wouldn't be right to do so. You wouldn't forcibly change terms and conditions without going through consultation and actually giving them something back in return as well. and that's from that's from a UK employment law. Obviously, different countries have different employment laws and things like that. So obviously, I can only speak on behalf of England and Wales.
But it is possible to make a mandatory policy in order for you to get the vaccine to get the job rather than current existing employment. Is that correct? So in the requirement, it says BSc degree, you need your driver's license, and you need to be vaccinated.
That's correct. So the industry that I work in, I have a lot of people that go out onto other customer premises, other businesses and factories and things like that. So we deal with a lot. We have a diverse range of accounts and customers. So they're going to have their own internal policies, etc. Their own employees are going to have to comply with. So we're going to have a third party going onto a customer's premises, which we have to think about. So if it's an existing employer, yes, we are effectively changing some of these terms and conditions. But if a new person comes to us and says, "Hey, Anne, I want a job with us," yeah, great. Have you had the vaccination? Then we'd have to, and if they said no, then, and it also just depends on what that person's role is. If it's somebody that's like a CEO, a chief executive, etc., and he's going to be somebody that's going to really drive the business going forward, then am I going to refuse to accept to appoint him simply because he's not had the vaccination? So you have to have that common sense as well. But at the entry level, what we call operators, they're the ones that are going out and working on customs machines and things like that, which is semi-skilled. We are well within our rights to say to somebody, if you've had the vaccination, well, it basically is no jab, no job is the hook line.
I like that.
And that's the situation, but it's only with new employees.
Yeah.
And I say it's all about common sense, applying common sense and acting reasonable as well, and understand the reasons why they haven't had the vaccination.
Absolutely.
Because if you are discriminated against somebody, you are going to end up in a tribunal, unfortunately.
I think that conversation is so important with the level of the work that you're in. So, for example, if you're in a small business and you have 3 guys that don't want to get the vaccine and they, for example, social media marketers, well, it's very easy to say, all right, well, you can't come to the office, but you can remote work. These are the KPIs. And I think you've got to come to some type of compromise, especially because you don't want to lose your best guys. It's quite costly when you're in the middle layer of business skills. Like to train them for 2-3 years just to fire them because they haven't taken the vaccine. I feel like there needs to be more of a compromise and a conversation in order to go ahead. Perfect. Thank you so much for all of that. Let's head over to Mr. Jam. Go.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, I came in and I saw that question.
Yes.
That question's actually applicable to me at the minute. I did work nights in a hotel, obviously because of COVID. Hospitality industry isn't exactly booming. But I would say for the last 12 months, our CEO and our head of sort of department has been in email contact, giving us constant updates and things. And one of the last, because we're still in a lockdown, but we're coming out of our 3rd lockdown, our CEO basically laid down our sort of the UK wise. It looks like we've had a few interesting incidents happen currently, but prior to those, it looks like by July, the government wanted us to get back into some sort of normality. So our CEO was hoping that hospitality would start picking up again. And one of the things he mentioned was exactly that, was they were looking at government guidance with regards to requirements of having employees have the jab, because obviously company I work for, they own 3 hotels and an event center. And he was quite detailed in the email about how, he didn't want people to feel forced that they had to have the jab or they lose their job. And he wants to make sure that there were things in place for those that were concerned about the jab, about having the jab and things like that. and he said HR will be there for anyone that has concerns with regards to that. But the way he looked at it was, come July, he would have liked all members of staff to have at least had the jab, because it protects not just ourselves, but obviously we don't know if we have a certain event. For instance, we have international events, and we won't know if all of those event attendees have all had the jab. And he was trying to word it in a way it protects us not just from ourselves, but from the people we will be coming into contact. One of the hotels that we've had has been open for the last 12 months and has been used as an emergency thing for people who have been abroad and have had to self-isolate for 10 to 20 days. And that's been quite challenging, especially before the government announced we could start getting the jabs, because there were certain members of staff that unfortunately were in contact with people that had been abroad that may have contracted the virus, and they're putting them, they're putting their lives on the line. And so with regards to that, we've got our own little WhatsApp group with our front of house department, and we've all unanimously said, if it comes to the decision of having the jab or losing our job, well, I have massive needle phobia. I freak out. I once cracked my head open many years ago, and I had to have glue put in my skull instead of a needle because they couldn't restrain me in the bed because I freaked out. But I've said I would rather have the jab than lose the job, and especially the company itself has spent so much money on me, on training me in certain departments, that I feel like they've put time and investment and patience in me. I would like to repay that back to them. And plus, I see myself progressing as I have been. I started as a temporary casual porter. I worked up to a full-time contract, to then a supervisor, to then doing audit shifts. So I put time and effort in me, and I've seen myself develop with them. So I wouldn't want to just throw that away because of not having a jab.
Yeah.
But I can understand there will be people that may be apprehensive. The gentleman over there said about religious and other sort of, social, cultural sort of issues. But hopefully our company is very open with all of us. And as I said, our CEO has said he is looking for government guidance on what to do if someone doesn't want to have the jab, to protect all members of staff. I think out of this company in particular is probably the only company I've worked for that, when it comes to sort of people with religious beliefs, is very open with them. We have a prayer room. It's actually a multi-purpose faith room. And we even open it up for guests. We don't publicize it because we feel like it shouldn't be a publicized matter. But we have a lot of guests that will sort of ask, is there somewhere they can go to pray or to meditate? And we say that we have a special staff room because we have over 1,000 members of staff. We're bound to have.
Oh, sorry. We lost you there. Thank you, Mr. Jam. Really appreciate your thoughts. Yellow Majesty.
I was thinking about two things. So, first of all, life is full of paradoxes. That's one thing for sure. Let me give you an example. So, a week ago, our digital minister from the Social Democrats in Sweden sat in television with a nice smile upon his face, laying down this plan of social engineering where we're not forcing people to get vaccination, but we are doing all other precautions, taking actions in terms of, Dylan was talking about, incorporating this idea of digital passports for vaccination, which allows you to take part of different social occasions and contexts. That's one way of forcing people to take vaccination, which is quite typically Swedish, I would say. You never force people to do anything explicitly, but implicitly you make them do it, or you will get socially punished in one way or another. But the next day, all of the vaccinations from AstraZeneca stopped. The shipment stopped. That was a quite funny paradox for me. What did that person say? Well, we need to trust what science and research says. Of course, we are only boundaries about. We are bound to take precautions based on what we know from a scientific perspective. Well, you don't know jack shit. And besides, science is always progressing. I hear people here talk about how safe it is with taking vaccination, whereas there ain't any absolute knowledge about this vaccination nor the implications over time. Sorry, but that's a fact. The second thing I
Yes,
was
they don't
thinking
have
about,
enough information regarding that.
yes.
Because
So the
this
next
type of
thing,
vaccination is new. Sorry. Yes, I'll be
yeah,
quiet now. Sorry.
but that's a good point because I was sitting here wondering, like, how would we behave and react if we were in this situation 10 years back or 15 years back, without any internet, any alternative media, without any I don't want to call them conspiracy theorists because any theory is basically a theory, whether we want to label it as a conspiracy theory or an analytical theory or explanatory theory or whatever. A theory is a theory until it is proven or falsified to some degree. But we didn't have access to all these alternative sources of media and information with so many different opinions which want to stimulate your worldview, your value system, your way of thinking, and confirm it and nurture it, that you keep continuing to think in a certain direction. I wonder if people would be more urgent to take this vaccine or not. Like if we didn't have all these channels to rely upon in order to challenge our own worldview. I think going back to Sasha here, that's a very good example. I will just keep this short. So here we have a person who is actually in the crossfire, so to speak. If you don't take the vaccine, you're not able to work with something that is, I mean, contemporary speaking, it is very important. So that kind of profession. So I think we have so many different kind of works and jobs, which makes this question very difficult to ask answer from a general perspective. But I think still that if it was 15 years ago, the situation would be much different. I think people would go and take this vaccine without even considering about it more. Yeah.
It's an individual situation, Yellow Majesty. We're at the point where we need the economy to now continue. We need to work again, you know, and this is now about survival more than anything. So for some people who can work and run their own businesses at home and be remote, I mean, yeah, you can delay the process of getting the vaccine as long as you're following the protocols. But if you are in the blue collar work or if you're in healthcare, as we said, it's a little bit different. And as Ali said, if you're against it, you quit your job. That's it. But as long as you're keeping to the protocols, then that's all good. And let's go to Tom.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm Tom. I'm from Israel.
Hi.
I got my you have to excuse my English. And I got my second shot like a month ago, my second Pfizer shot. And here in Israel, it's not mandatory, but they made it mandatory recently for teachers to get either vaccinated or have a negative test result in order to go back to teaching at schools. A principal can allow or not allow a teacher to go back to teaching a class. It's now legal, and well, anyway, I want to tell everyone that they should get vaccinated. At least that's my opinion. Statistics have shown that after many millions of Israelis got vaccinated, um, the rate of the disease, the plague rate has dropped, and the economy started running back again. The jump started it again, and we're going back to life. Businesses are opening, classrooms are opening, kindergartens. Soon after, soon enough, Pfizer will have um, will enable us to vaccinate ages 16 and down and below. So all is good. I recommend everyone to get vaccinated.
Thanks, Tom. Ultra Funky.
Yes. Hey, Leon, thank you for the information you gave with the statistic and that kind of stuff. I'm not going to say stuff, but I really thank you for that. It was really good that you said it. And the second thing is that I wanted to go to the Yellow Majesty. He was saying like it was 10 years ago, everybody would take it without asking. In my country, when we had this swine flu, what was it, 2008, 2000? I don't remember, 10? I don't know when it was now. But then there, in my country, 17 people died, and they vaccinated the whole country. 17. So, and people didn't ask, so they just took it, And later on, people didn't die of taking the vaccine, but there were some health issues in young people. They got narcolepsy, or I don't know how you pronounce it, narcolepsy.
Narcolepsy.
And the thing that happened was that the government didn't want to acknowledge it from the beginning, and that made a problem for the families, with kids that they love, and the problem that they're going to live with the rest of their life, and they still don't really acknowledge it, helping them. It's a couple of hundred. So we are not sure, even if we take the vaccine now. I understand everybody that said we should take it, but as Ali also said, we don't know what's going to happen further on in this situation, what it's going to be. So, and like you said, Timon, it's like I don't want to be the guinea pig. So, so in that case, it's easier to go slow with this. But I can understand everybody's concern, and I respect everything I've heard today. Was really, really interesting.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you for joining our social dilemma. We have the moral dilemma on Friday. The conversation doesn't have to end, so I'm going to take away toggle mute all, and you can continue talking. A lot of you have experience from all different countries, so I think this is very important that we address these type of issues, because where else do we do it? So thank you, Ali, for joining, and thank you, everybody. You've all been amazing.
And don't forget, My Brain on Thursday. We're talking about blockchain.
Yes, come on to Oh My Brain and join VR Digital Citizens. Thanks a lot, guys. We are out of here. Goodbye. Bye, Ali.
Bye, everyone.